Have you ever been scammed when buying a pre-loved handbag from Facebook? Well, I have. So let me tell you the 3 tips I now follow to make sure that doesn't ever happen again. So let's get into it. Hi everyone, it's Lady Vintage Bags here. I'm just a bag obsessed Aussie, here to help you navigate your way through the vintage, pre-loved and affordable luxury market. So if that's your jam, stick around because I'm your girl. And if you enjoy these videos, don't forget to hit that like button and hit subscribe so you'll never miss out every time I put a new upload. Now introducing my fabulous Louis Vuitton vintage Monceau monogram handbag. Now this is the bag I bought where I got scammed on Facebook. So make sure this doesn't happen to you by following these 3 top tips. So let me give you the backstory of this bag. I've been hunting one of these since 2018, and the more I kept thinking about it, the price kept going up and up and up, and finally in 2021 I finally bit the bullet and bought it from an ad on Facebook group. Now there was a problem. This is not the real original Louis Vuitton hardware, and it was not mentioned in the ad. This bag was not as described and I got scammed. So let's get into it. Tip number 1. Always ask for additional photos. So what happened with this bag was the seller, now as you can tell I'm Australian, the seller was US based and we did it on Facebook in a buying and selling group for Louis Vuitton. Now, so the seller put up some photos. I wasn't really too happy with the photos they'll put up and the blurriness of the photo. So tip number 1 is always ask for additional photos. Now I did follow this tip. I said, can I please get some extra photos? I wanted photos of the corners, and I wanted photos of the hardware, and I wanted photos of the heat stamp, so that I could see that, hey, this really was a genuine bag, because I did want to send the photos off to the authenticator. So I did get the extra photos that I wanted, and everything did look pretty good. Now step 2 is where I went wrong, because step 2 I didn't follow. Now step 2 is compare the photos that you get to another bag of the same model. Now if you have this bag in person, or you get access to the bag in person, that's what you should do. Otherwise, grab photos of the same model from a professional seller and compare them so that you can see if there's anything odd or anything that doesn't match, because you may not be familiar with all the ins and outs of the model you're looking for, and you may not be able to pick up when something is wrong. So this is where my story failed. So number 1, there was a strap that came with the bag, and the seller did say partway through our conversation that, oh, the strap is not original. Now that was never listed in the ad, but the seller did come out with that information saying, oh, she forgot to update the ad she thought she had. That was fine because I was told that before I handed my money over. Now what I wasn't told was that this hardware is not the original Louis Vuitton hardware. Now I should have gotten the photos and compared it to my Monceau that I already had in my possession, and I would have been able to see very clearly that there was something wrong with the hardware. So let's see if it'll show up on camera here. So the shape is off and the size is not the same. So you can see here, this is a really straight cut with a dome, and it's kind of thick, whereas this is a thinner dome, and also the shape is not the same. So if I had just compared the photos to what I had, I would have been able to pick it up straight away before I handed my money over. So that was a folly on my part. Now when I brought this up with the seller after I got the bag, they told me that they were not aware it was not original hardware, because this is the only Monceau that they had ever owned. Because I was in Australia and they're in America, it'd be really difficult to return, and because the bag was in an okay condition, I decided to just keep the bag and accept that this was not original hardware. Tip number 3 is to get the bag authenticated. Now I did do this step and it did pass authentication, and there was no mention of any question about the hardware in the authentication, and so again I missed that there was something wrong because there was no issue with the authentication step. So really this bag was not as described, and I was quite torn and disappointed when I got it and I realized that there was a problem. Now it does take 2 to tango, so if I had been more careful looking at the photos, I wouldn't have gotten scammed, but I accepted my role in the story. So in the end I decided to make the decision to keep the bag rather than fighting and sending it back. So I hope these 3 tips help you to get a good user experience when buying from Facebook Marketplace and to not get scammed. So let's recap. Tip number 1, get additional photos. Tip number 2, compare those photos to the same model bag from a professional seller or a bag you can get in hand. And tip number 3, always get your bag authenticated before buying. And That way you won't get scammed when buying on Facebook. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I'm going to leave some extra videos here for you to carry on with, and have a great day. Bye.